Hi, second graders. Happy Friday. I'm going to continue reading from our chapter book, Read Aloud, The One and Only Ivan. And I'm going to have you answer some questions on Seesaw when I'm finished reading. Questions from the text that I read today. So before break, we were learning a little bit about Ivan's history with his family. And we learned that his family was pretty typical of a gorilla family. There were 10 people in the troop. And it was his father, his mother, 3 other adult females, a young boy, his name was Blackback, and 2 other young gorillas. And Ivan and Tag were the babies of the group. And things were going really well for him. We learned that it was a pretty great life. And let me see. Yeah, he said it was sort of like, you make mistakes, you play, you learn, and he said it was for a while a perfect life. The next chapter is the end. I'm going to read this again to you. It's a very short chapter, as you can see. One day, a still day when the hot air hummed, the humans came. Now, I had you make some predictions before break about this page, and some of you predicted that something not so great would happen. You were kind of worried that the humans might break up the family. Others thought that the humans would just, sit by and watch. But most of you were thinking that since we know Ivan is by himself now, we know that he lives at the Big 8, that his family was split up. So many of you predicted that the humans would cause that to happen. Vine. After they captured my sister and me, they put us in a cramped, dark crate that smelled of urine and fear. Urine is another word for pee, okay? Somehow I knew that in order to live, I had to let my old life die. But my sister could not let go of our home. It held her like a vine, stretching across the miles, comforting, strangling. We were still in our crate when she looked at me without seeing, and I knew that the vine had finally snapped. So what that means, she looked at me without seeing, is like all of the life and the happiness that you can see in people's eyes was gone. So she didn't feel happy anymore. The temporary human. It was Mac who pried open that crate. Mac who bought me, and Mac who raised me like a human baby. I wore diapers. I drank from a bottle. I slept in human beds, sat in human chairs, listened while human words swarmed around me like angry bees. So the words, human words, are being compared to bees, right? Have you ever seen a bee before? Have you ever seen a beehive? When there's a swarm of bees, it means that there's lots and lots of bees, and they're flying all over the place, okay? They're flying, and if they're angry, it's sort of like they're attacking you, maybe. Maybe you've seen that in a show before. I know I used to watch Winnie the Pooh when I was a little kid, and there would often be bees because Pooh was always looking for honey. So these words are swarming around like angry bees. So Ivan has like these words that feel like they're sort of attacking him. And when you compare things like the author does, using the word like or the word as, it's actually called a simile when you compare 2 things that are not the same. So the words are being compared to bees. That's a simile. Mac had a wife back then. Helen was quick to laugh, but quick to anger too, especially when I broke something, which was often. Here's what I broke while I lived with Mac and Helen. 1 crib, 46 glasses, 7 lamps, 1 couch, 3 shower curtains, 3 shower curtain rods, 1 blender, 1 TV, 1 radio, 3 toes, my own. I broke the blender when I squeezed 3 tubes of toothpaste and a bottle of glue into it. I broke my toes attempting to swing from a lamp fixture on the ceiling. I broke 46 glasses. Well, it turns out there are many ways to break a glass. Every weekend, Mac and Helen took me in their convertible to a fast food restaurant where they ordered me French fries and a strawberry shake. A convertible is a type of car that doesn't have a roof. So in the summer, sometimes if you're driving around or walking around, you might see somebody drive past you and there's no top on their car. That's a convertible. Mac loved to see the expression on the cashier's face when he drove up and said, "Could I have some extra ketchup for my kid?" I went to baseball games, to the grocery store, to a movie theater, even to the circus. They didn't have a gorilla. I rode a little motorbike and blew out candles on a birthday cake. My life as a human was a glamorous one, although my parents, traditional sorts, would not have approved. Now, I have to tell you, sometimes when I'm reading, I get a question in my mind, and the question kind of sticks there. And all I can think about right now is what must have happened to Tag. Because we know her eyes sort of lost their light, and we know that it's only Ivan right now who's with Mac. I'm wondering about Tag. Maybe you're wondering the same thing. I'm also wondering and thinking about the way that Mac was treating Ivan, his life as a human, you know? What do you think about that? Do you think that's okay? The next chapter is called Hunger. In my new life as a human, I was well tended. I ate lettuce leaves with Thousand Island dressing and caramel apples and popcorn with butter. My belly ballooned. But hunger, like food, comes in many shapes and colors. At night, lying alone in my poo pajamas, I felt hungry for the skilled touch of a grooming friend, for the cheerful grunts of a play fight, for the easy safety of my nearby troop, foraging through shadows. Remember what happened to Tag, I told myself. Don't think about the jungle. Still, sometimes I lay awake, wishing for the warmth of another just like me, asleep in a night nest of tender prayer plant leaves. I liked having sips of soda poured into my mouth, like a bubbling waterfall, but every now and then I longed to search for a tender stalk of arrowroot to feel the tease of a mango just out of reach. Still life. One day, Helen came home with something large and flat, wrapped in brown paper. "Look what I bought today," she said excitedly as she tore off the paper. "A painting to go over the living room couch." "Fruit in a bowl," Max said with a shrug. "Big deal." "This is fine art. It's called a still life," Helen explained. "And I think it's lovely." I dashed over to examine the painting, marveling at the colors and shapes. "See?" said Mac's wife. "Ivan likes it." "Ivan likes to roll up poop and throw it at squirrels," Max said. I couldn't take my eyes off the apples and bananas and grapes in the picture. They looked so real, so inviting, so edible. I reached out to touch a grape, and Helen slapped my hand. "Bad boy, Ivan, don't touch." She jerked her thumb at Mac. "Honey, go get a hammer and a nail, would ya?" While Mac and Helen were busy in the living room, I wandered into the kitchen. A cake covered in thick chocolate frosting sat on the counter. I like cake. Love it, in fact. But it wasn't eating I was thinking about. It was painting. What do you think will happen next? Did you make a prediction? Let's see if you're right. The frosting peaked and dipped like waves on a tiny pond. There's another simile. The frosting is being compared to waves. It looked rich and gooey, dark and smooth. It looked like mud. I scooped up a handful of frosting. I scooped up another. I headed to the refrigerator door. It was perfect. An empty, white, waiting canvas. The frosting wasn't as easy to work with as jungle mud. It was stickier and, of course, more tempting to eat. But I kept at it. I scraped off every last bit of that frosting. I may have eaten a little cake, too. I don't remember what I was trying to paint. A banana, most likely. I suppose I knew I was going to get in trouble. But at that moment, I just didn't care. I wanted to make something, anything, the way I used to. I wanted to be an artist again. Punishment. I soon learned that humans can screech even louder than monkeys. After that, I was never allowed in the kitchen. Babies. Back in those days, the Big Top Mall was smaller. It had a pony ride, a wooden train that bustled around the parking lot, a few bedraggled parrots, and a surly spider monkey. But when Mac brought me, a baby gorilla dressed in a crisp tuxedo, to the mall, everything changed. People came from far and wide to have their pictures taken with me. They brought me blocks and a toy guitar. They held me in their laps. Once I even held a baby in mine. She was small and slippery. Bubbles flowed from her lips. She squeezed my fingers. Her rear was puffy with padding. Her legs bowed like bent twigs. I made a face. She made a face. I grunted. She grunted. I was so afraid she would fall that I squeezed her tightly and her mother yanked her away. I wonder if my mother ever worried about dropping us. We always held on, but that's easier to do when your mother is furry. Human babies are an ugly lot, but their eyes are like our babies' eyes. Too big for their faces and for the world. All right, I am going to, read one more chapter. Beds. One day after many weeks of loud talking, Helen packed a bag and slammed the front door and never came back. I don't know why. I never know the why of humans. That night I slept with Mac in his bed. My old nests were woven of leaves and sticks and shaped like his bathtub. Cool green cocoons. Mac's bed, like mine, was flat, hot, without sticks or stars. Still, he made a sleeping sound like the rumble my father used to make when all was well, a sound from deep inside his belly. Okay, I'm going to pause right there. The next chapter is called My Place. So after you watch this video, make sure you listen to the captions so you hear the questions that I ask you. They're all going to be questions about what happened in this part of the book, and some of the questions might be asking about what you think is going on. Okay, so some of them have answers, okay, that the answers are in here, but others are just questions you have to think about a little bit, and the answer might not be in the text, but you have to think about why something is the way it is. Okay? Make sure you listen to the captions. I hope you have a great weekend. Bye!